Second tutorial for Substance Painter, and we're about to add the texture. Again, this is grabbed off the internet, just using it for educational, just to see how to use this imagery and surface and color to add to our fish. We definitely get a fresh fish, so you get the correct colors, hit it with a towel, get all the specular stuff off the fish, and get some real textures, so it'll add realism. I think this is more of an illustrative or illustration of a redfish, which is fine for our purposes. All right, so one of the things that we want to do is kind of prep this, and we're going to use PSDs, which is a Photoshop file once we get into Substance Painter. So one of the things is we're going to go ahead and duplicate this layer. All right, and I'm going to go and hide this one. So we just want to be able to have this as this is our default background if we ever need to go back to it. Really quickly, I'm going to show you kind of the end results of what we're going to get once we project this into Substance Painter. So it's looking pretty good. You can start to see if I hit my shift and right click, you can start to see the basically scales are showing up, and we're getting some pretty radical surfaces. Again, we've got our grunge underneath there that we did down here, and I'll show you that in just a second. But you can see we're having a little bit of a spillage here, spillage up here. We'll fix it maybe with the cloning tool, but this is something I want to work on right away with these fins. And also, I forgot to hit symmetry when I was doing this, so you can see the other side did not project through. So some learning curves for me going through it, for getting the symmetry, but we're definitely going to show you how to do all these in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and save this as probably, so I'm going to auto save right now. I'm just going to call this as test. Okay, so we're not going to really use this. It's just something if I need to go back. All right, so I'm going to go back and open recent file and Redfish. You can see the old one that we have. So you can see over here on the right, we have our ambient inclusion and our maps that we baked out earlier. So this is looking pretty amazing, pretty bad also, but it's giving us some gross geometry that we wouldn't be able to do in Substance Painter. Again, if it's beyond 1 millimeter, Substance Painter is not going to give you textures, but we're definitely going to cheat and use the textures in here. All right, so let's go back to Photoshop, and what we're going to do is, hopefully you guys know Photoshop. If not, just kind of follow slowly. I'm using the magic wand here and selecting it, and I think my tolerance is 2, which is really low. So I'm going to hit backspace or delete and hit Apple D to unselect it. You can also go up here to edit, unselect. So basically we want this alpha channel here. And can go ahead and delete that if you want, but the big thing is I want to liquify this and pull this stuff out. So now I'm doing this on the fly, so I have to figure out where liquify is. So I think it's, let's see where it is. So we're basically wanting to pull this out of there. So it may be a tool here. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. See if we can, there we are. So we have these different tools like here. So we have, still don't see Liquify. Oh, there it is, right there, Liquify. All right, sorry about that. So it is pretty, pulls it pretty far out, but I'm just going to go ahead and extend this out. All right, can you play around with the brushes? So it's just this one, and not really worried about these guys. Maybe pull that fun out. All right, so we're going to hit okie dokie. All right, this extends that out, so as you can see, our model goes beyond what this is. All right, so we've liquefied it, and we want to save this as an image. So save as, and I'm gonna go to my desktop, to my Redfish, and I'll put support. Oops, let's cancel. I'm gonna go into my Substance Painter and hit support textures. All right, again, you would be doing this, no, this is not black and white. So we're gonna hit Redfish. All right, and then we're gonna rinse and repeat, and we're gonna go ahead and do a black and white version of this, and this will make sense in just a second. So black and white, I'm gonna go ahead and hit merge, disregard. So this gives me, the black and white is actually to make the bump map, so it will bulge out. All right, typically, you know, if we would slow this down, I would carve the head out, I would carve out this part and these little fins and so forth. It's really important to kind of project things one at a time, and usually I carve it out and then I blur it on the edges so I'm not over texturing other surfaces. Now this is a 8-hour tutorial or workshop, and we want to make sure we go pretty quick with this and not go into the weeds with this. But you can definitely look at my other tutorials where we do this with a grasshopper. It's quite effective because it's really hard to line this stuff up. Again, this is like really quickly and get through this as quickly as possible with some sort of results. All right, so we have our raw fish here on the palette here. And again, you'll be able to see what this looks like from front side. Sometimes this is really good to project directly onto a UV layout, but again, we're just doing this onto our fish. All right, so one of the things I want to make sure our symmetry on is, especially, not right now, but when we start projecting on there, make sure that's on, because I totally screwed that up last time. All right, so what we're gonna do is start adding some base material colors, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. I'm gonna go ahead and click on here. This is going to be my base color. So right now, I'm gonna go back into Photoshop, and I'm gonna hit Apple Z and look at our color. And basically I'm trying to find kind of a salmon pink. I'm trying to have something so it's just not white, but there's all kinds of colors here, but I'm just gonna start just giving it some color. Again, this is like Photoshop. You can have about 100 different layers on it, and you can adjust each layer. So go big and bold, kind of broad strokes first. So we're gonna just add kind of a pink salmon kind of color. I know it looks awful, but trust me, it's just some kind of washes of color as you do this. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and stop that, and we're gonna do another fill layer. And for this one, we're gonna add a generator. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and add a black mask, okay? And again, we're just touching the surface on Substance Painter. They've got some amazing tutorials. I advise you to do 6 or 7 hours of their tutorials so you get a little bit more acclimated with Substance. But again, I'm just giving you a direct path of what this is. So we're gonna go ahead, right click again, and we're gonna add a generator. And what we're gonna do is just start dirtying this up, okay? So we're gonna go up, click on generator, and we're just gonna use basically 2 of them, this one and curvature down the road. All right, so you start to see some textures starting to dirty up kind of the curvatures of this lovely, I don't want to call it a character, but it's a fish, right? Right now we have these parameters. We can go up to a dirt level. And right now we have it kind of this blue or a gray, and so we need to set that up in just a second as darker. So I'm just trying to generate some dirt with this. You can do dirt contrast, play around with that. I'm not gonna do too much with it, but I definitely want to go darker. All right, so it starts to develop some really radical contrast. And you can do height. So you can see this starts to add some height and some sheen to it. So just go up a little bit. Don't go crazy with it. But basically, what you're trying to do is when I look over the surface, it's not all smooth. Starting to generate some kind of specularity to it. So I'm going to go very, very light on this, and you can go up with the roughness also. And let's go ahead. You can start to see how that the color when the light is hitting, just breaking it up. All right, trying to make it organic and making sure it doesn't look super flat. All right, so we're gonna do one more. Curvature, I always like to add a couple generators just to start getting this dirty up. Again, you can always go back and knock this stuff down. So we have UV, we can do a triplanar if you start to see lines in here with bad UV mapping. We're gonna leave it as UV projection, I think it's fine. But basically, Substance Painter does a really great job of blending those edges. All right, so we're gonna do another lovely layering. You see each time I do this, it kind of washes on top, just like in Photoshop. So we're gonna go right click and hit black mask again. And we're gonna go ahead and right click and I'm gonna add another generator. All right, again, going really quickly through this, I would definitely advise you to look at different programs. All right, so you can start to see this is curvature. So wherever there's a curvature, it's gonna add this. So you can blur this out so it's not so strong. But I love just adding as much procedural. Usually all textures are on any game is probably 60% procedural, and then the rest is kind of painting and giving it some broader strokes. All right, I'm gonna kind of darken this up. All right, and just give it a little bit of height and also a bit of roughness. Again, that's just so when the light passes over it, you really start to see kind of this kind of weird look to it, giving it some depth to it. All right, so I would probably save right now, which is probably good. And so again, we're kind of like in Photoshop, you kind of hit shift. We probably want a strong ortho. Let's see, I don't know how to do that on the fly here, but we're just going to have it as flat like this. Usually you want to ortho so that your fins line up here. But again, this is down and dirty, quick tutorial for you guys to quickly understand what we're doing here. All right, so the next thing what we're going to do is start working on projecting on some texture. All right, and after that we're going to do something with the color, and then it'll really look pretty believable. All right, so what we're going to do is add another base. Okay, that little basically paint bucket. We're going to click on that, and we're going to add a black mask. Okay, similar to what we were doing before. Instead of adding a generator like we've done before, we're going to hit add paint. Okay, and one of the things we want to do is import our textures. So right now we're going to go hit import resources. You can see there's mesh down there also. So we're going to add resource, and we're going to go to Substance Painter. We go to our support textures, and we have our PSD. And hit open, and we want to tell it it is a texture. It won't know what it is, and we want to add it to our shelf. All right, import, and you'll see it's down here. And we also want to add our, we're going to go back to Photoshop. I forgot to save this as black and white. So we're going to go to image, mode, grayscale, and we're going to merge it, disregard, and then save as. And again, you want all these as PSD, so it reads that alpha channel. It's very important. You don't want white spilling over. So hit spacebar B and underscore or underscore black and white, however you want to do it. All right, so we're gonna hit save, save. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and import that one to go file, import resources and add. And you see my lovely underscore there. And we're gonna tell it to texture. And I'm going quickly here, but I'm also trying to keep it just pretty efficient. All right, so I have two fish in here. Sometimes you can roll over. It'll show the differences. And again, we want the one that's fanned out with the tail. Okay, so it's going to be these two inner ones. All right, so we have this on paint. We have this here. And what we're going to do is hit something called projection. All right, and right here is grayscale. So grayscale is how we add kind of bump maps and textures with images. And so we're going to drag this onto the grayscale. And you can see, whoops, is that grayscale? I hope it is. It looks more like color. I guess it's because the color behind it. All right, so just like Maya, Alt or Option is our friend, and we're just kind of scale this in. All right, so this is kind of challenging because our eyeball, things are not going to line up like they're supposed to, and with textures and colors. So we're just kind of slamming this together quickly. So you'll notice it'll be kind of off once we add the color. Those scales and so forth are going to not completely line up. And that's why I like to dissect things like these fins and this fin and this fin, and especially this face. It'll line up properly, especially this fin. We're going to have some spillage underneath it that's not going to look good. All right. So I'm just kind of trying to line this up as best as possible, making the fish small enough, and then just kind of make sure it kind of lines up. And then kind of just visually remember this too when we go to put the color on. All right. So you remember we liquefied these. These are going to stand out a little bit more. Looks like this is definitely overcast. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and start painting this. I'm just clicking on it very quickly. And you can see when I let go, you can see my stencil there. It's not moving. And you can go up on this brush. I'll go up a little bit so I'm not painting all day here. All right. Again, you can make sure you have, let's make sure that is on. That wasn't on. Okay. Make sure your symmetry, going back and painting again because I didn't have symmetry on. All right, not sure what's going on up here, but anyways, we're gonna go turn that off. And we're going to go in here and see that we have kind of this black and white texture on there. All right, that doesn't really mean anything right now. What we want to do is go up here and we're going to go height. All right, so you can see if once I lift this up, this is the magic of Substance Painter. So we didn't have to do all that texturing in ZBrush. You have it right here. All right, so if I hit right, shift and right click, you can start to see those colors are really starting to shine through, and we don't have to do anything. Some of it's going over some of our subtle detailing, but again, the more noise that you have, the better. You can see I have a little bit of spillage. I did this really quickly. Now I've gone back and topped that off, but right now it's fine. All right, so there's no color on there, but it's looking pretty sharp for a fish. Now, the proportions are probably not right. It's probably more different shape from the front view. But again, I'm just totally guessing this because we don't have resources to look at it. All right, so I would definitely save it. I'm not gonna save it till we project one more layer, which is the color. All right, so what we're gonna do is just go ahead and do a new layer. And basically this is the base layer, add fill color. Well, actually I'm gonna go delete that. And we're actually going to do paint. I'm sorry. Add paint generate. Also, make sure your symmetry is on. That is key. And we're going to do another projection. And we're going to zoom in and out here. Just pull it in. Make sure that whole fish kind of fits in there. And what we want to do is get that one that we liquefied, but the color version. So if we can roll over this, and you can kind of see. You can tell which one. With that back fin, it's kind of flat. This one is a little bit more rounded. So we're going to dump this into our base color. And again, we're going to try to line it up as best as we can that we've done before. Okay, just kind of line that up. And we'll just line up with your textures. Probably not 100%, but pretty dang close. Now this is a tricky area that I don't like is because these eyes are going to be different from what I sculpted in ZBrush. All right, so we're going to keep going here, and you can see that my fin kind of goes out shorter than this, so that's why I liquefied this. So I have a pretty small brush. I'll go ahead and go up on it, just so we're not here painting all day. And so you can start to see the color is coming through really quickly. It's a little slow, probably because my computer is overtaxed with recording. All right. And I think we have 100% flow, opacity. You can see, you know, if we had a real fish, these colors would be a little bit more stunning, a little bit more realistic. All right, you can start to see the eyes are probably not going to line up, but again, for this purpose of this kind of class and this really fast workshop, we probably don't really need to get too into the weeds with this. All right, that is that. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off, and well, let's see. Hopefully it's symmetry, so it's on both sides. And there we go. So we shift, and really looking beautiful here. All right, so if I hit shift, you can see all those beautiful scales, and also all that grunge work that we have before is starting to show through here. All right. All right, so I'll probably stop. Oops, I went Apple Z. I think I did something there by accident. Again, Alt is your friend, or Option. To rotate just like in Photoshop, I'll go ahead and turn off my symmetry so we don't have that red harsh line. And we'll probably go next and use our clone tool in the next tutorial, just kind of clean up this white stuff, and also try to figure out how to get this scales to kind of show up here, at least not make it look like it's a spray tan on there. All right, and you can kind of probably do something here so it doesn't look like it's a overkill on the projecting. Looks like an X-ray went through it. All right, so let's stop there. I'm gonna upload this, and next one we'll clean it up, and we'll actually start looking at Unity, how to export out all the maps and the texture and the object. And then the following tutorials will be rigging in Maya. And then after that, we'll get into Unity and how to bring all this in. Not going to do any programming, but at least we can click on and see our animation of this fish starting to move. All right.